So the Batman trilogy is done, and Man of Steel will be released next summer. And you know what that means. That's Christopher Nolan's kind of way of saying that I'm done with superhero movies, I'm moving on. And I think it's a great thing to see, and I want to see what he's going to do next. And that is what this video is all about. What is Christopher Nolan going to do next? Now, I have a lot of ideas in what he might do. I'm just going to pick two genres for now. I think a lot of you might have ideas as well. So, the first genre I want to see him do is horror. Now, we all know that Batman Begins had a lot of horror, scary movie kind of elements in it. You know, the whole premise and the whole theme of the movie is based on fear. Fear in itself and how it affects a person. Obviously, you can't really do a very, very scary type of Batman movie. It's really hard to because, you know, you have to market the movie for a worldwide audience, not just for certain types of fans. So, considering that that was a PG-13 movie, and it had its fair share of scary moments, for a superhero movie, that is, I think that if he tried to do a standalone R-rated kind of let's go for it and let's do a horror movie, I think he can do it. I read a story like in 2011 or 2012, I'm not too sure, and it was about how Inception originally was an idea to be a horror movie about dreams. Kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street, minus Freddy Krueger, and insert like another kind of villain or something like that. And when I read that, it was kind of interesting to see, like, if Inception wasn't always an action movie, how could it have been if it were a horror movie? And it kind of makes sense, you know, going into other people's dreams and seeing what they're thinking. It kind of maybe goes into the idea of nightmares, and maybe he was trying to do that, or maybe it was something else. We'll never know, because the movie was never made. And if he does a horror movie in the future, I want him to see, I want him to probably show us kind of the psychology of people. You know, obviously one of the main fixtures and the main, like, pluses in his Batman trilogy, or Dark Knight trilogy, was that the villains were very realistic and very terrifying for superhero films. And I think that's one of the reasons why I want to see him do a horror movie, because those movies were PG-13. He hasn't done an R-rated film since, I think, Insomnia, which was back in 2002 or 2003. I forget. I'm sorry. I don't know the times that well. But that's a long time ago, and since then he's only done PG-13 films. So imagine him going back to his roots, like going back to Memento days, and doing an R-rated film, and not really doing it for the whole worldwide mass kind of thing, but kind of doing it for a certain type of, you know, horror fans, and kind of trying to do a different look at what a horror movie could be. I think Christopher Nolan can pull it off. I think he can try doing something new and very different. And obviously we know that he's very good at packaging his movies, and some people complain about the duration and how the story just lags on. But I guess it's all based on opinion. People still watch his movies, right? So I'm not too sure, but I want to see him do a horror movie, and I think that, you know, diving into the character would be an awesome way. I think if he did a movie which was kind of like, let's say, Seven, or maybe doing a movie about a person, how they become this evil kind of person, that would be an interesting movie as well. I think he could bring a psychological viewpoint into that. And I think I want to see that as his next film. Another genre I want him to do is probably a drama or biographical drama. I remember reading another story that he was doing a Howard Hughes biography, and he wanted Leonardo DiCaprio, yes, Leonardo DiCaprio, to play him again. It's kind of interesting because he already played him in Aviator for Martin Scorsese, and then you're bringing the same actor in another biopic about the same guy under a new director. So when I read that, I was kind of interested. I was like, why would he do this? Why would he, you know, do this exact same thing? And then I read more onto the story, and I think I'll try to find the stories that I read online, and I'll post it on the description if I find them. And in that story, he was talking about how he wanted to look more into the life of Howard Hughes at the ending, like the ending point of his life, how he became a reclusive person, how he started getting the hallucinations and the problems that we see at the end of Aviator as well. And I think that'll be an interesting movie to see, because Leonardo DiCaprio is a great actor. I believe he's a great actor. And I think that Aviator should have been a movie about that stage of his life, because I'm very interested into how such a powerful person could go from, being in the spotlight all the time, being a big, celebrity kind of persona, and then going slowly into this like dark and very secretive life. And I think that if Christopher Nolan is going to do a movie like that, I think that'll be a very interesting movie. It could bring in horror elements. If he wants to do a horror movie like that, please do. It will be an interesting movie for sure. And I think that if he wanted to do a biography on another person, I think he should do a biography on Alfred Hitchcock. I don't know why. I just want to see a movie about Alfred Hitchcock and how he became to be one of the best directors in Hollywood history and world history as well. And I think Christopher Nolan should kind of go into like a character development type of movie, like just base one movie upon like one or a few characters and just drive the story with them. I think it will be an interesting way to see him direct in a different kind of style. I think always doing action thriller kind of movie might kind of slow his pace. I think that great directors always want to diversify their careers and always want to try and be more broad-minded and trying new genres. I think that's why directors like Stanley Kubrick and Steven Spielberg are able to stay as long as they did, because they went into different genres and didn't stay in one genre for a long time. Yeah, obviously, Steven Spielberg has done a lot of sci-fi, but the thing is, he was so amazing in sci-fi that he brought other genres into sci-fi and mixed them in. So if Christopher Nolan is going to do another action film, I think it should be a different kind of action film. It shouldn't be like an Inception about dreams. It shouldn't be about a guy in a cape. Obviously, I don't think he's going to do superhero type of movies anymore. And I don't think it should be about like a psychological, thriller kind of revenge flick like Memento was. I think what he should try to do is try to do a movie that is small, but explores a lot of things. And I think that that's the perfect way for him to go back into his roots of before Batman. I love his films. I'm a huge fan of his, but I want to see him go back to where he started, Memento was an awesome film. If you haven't seen that movie, please do. It'll mess up your mind. I'm telling you, you gotta watch it more than once to understand what's going on sometimes. And for him to go back to that kind of film, I think it'll be a really nice way for him to say, I've tried a lot of action. Let's go back to what made me into the director that he is today. And I think that if he does like a lot of psychological kind of minded films from now on, it'll be interesting. It'll be like a kind of ode to what he is more famous of doing. And I think that, one of the big pluses in the Dark Knight trilogy is that he does a lot of psychological thinking and a lot of analysis into the characters. A lot of the characters in these Batman movies were very deep for a superhero villain. Or a hero. Bruce Wayne obviously has a lot of problems with his life in this trilogy. We see him from his darkest of dark lows, and we see him at highs. And it's kind of interesting because, most superhero films, they usually just show a low point just to make you, like, sad, and then all of a sudden he triumphs. In this whole trilogy, Bruce Wayne is failing more than he's triumphing. So, it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not the norm. And I think that's why a lot of people like the Batman movies, because they weren't the norm. They tried to do something that was very different, and they tried to do something that made it more relatable to us. Not just a guy in a cape, but a guy who has the same problems as us. A guy who's, even though he might be rich, he's still a human being. He's still a person like me or you. And I think that a lot of the villains, like Joker and Bane and Ra's al Ghul, they have motives for their killings. You know, obviously Joker is a psychopath. He doesn't really talk about why he's doing this. He's kind of just trying to prove a point. And I think that, you know, when he dives into these characters, they're not just like scary, trying to freak you out with pop-up scares and kind of like saying these one-liners that probably will freak you out, but then you kind of think to yourself, who the hell would say this in real life? They're more different type of terrifying. You know, Bane doesn't really have a dark and kind of like very scary voice. It sounds like Sean Connery if you put him through Darth Vader's mask. It's not really terrifying. You know, Sean Connery has a badass voice, but it's not terrifying. And you know, Joker has a very terrifying voice, a terrifying laugh, but physically he's not as intimidating as Bane. You know, Ra's al Ghul, he's very cunning, he's very smart, but he's not like a very, you know, Bane kind of physicality. He doesn't have the psychopath kind of mind as Joker. He's more of a thinking man kind of villain. And then you have Scarecrow, who's a druggy doctor who's very, you know, suspicious in what he's doing in Arkham Asylum. You have Two-Face, who's a person that's converted from heroism to villainism. You have Catwoman, who's, you know, a cat burglar. Trying to get away from the Batman series. I'm just trying to show like how he dives into the characters a lot more. I think just describing it won't be starting off and how well he did it. If you actually see the movies and you actually see them a couple of times, you kind of see more into the character. They're not just characters reading lines. They're people diving into the character. Not just Heath Ledger. He did an amazing job, but every other actor who played a villain or a very darker character in the trilogy, they dived into their characters, and I think that that's what Christopher Nolan is very good at doing, is making his actors become the character. And I think that in his next movie, he should do a character development, kind of character-driven film. Even if the story's bad, I think that he should show that, you know, I'm a good director in showing people's talents, and I know what to do sometimes. So, and I hope that his next movie will come out soon. I really want to see his next movie. I don't mind if it's a small, you know, budgeted film, maybe a 20 million or 10 million. I want to see him go back to his roots. But if he's still going to do action films and he's still able to make it fresh and exciting, I don't mind. I would really want to see it. But I guess that it's all depending on him, you know. It's all what he wants to do at the time being. And if he doesn't want to do a movie for a couple of years, then so be it. Like, give the guy a break. He's done a lot in the past few years. He's been asked to do a lot. And I think that Warner Bros. Is still going to continue on to ask him to do Justice League. I don't think they're going to let him go. But to be honest, I don't want to see him do any more superhero films. Christian Bale said that he wanted to do a fourth film, and he will only do it if Christopher Nolan somehow wrote a script. If he doesn't want to do a fourth film in that trilogy, I guess he shouldn't, but, you know, who knows? People get ideas later on in their lives, and if they have a good idea, so be it. Give it a try. And, I guess this is the end of the video, and if you guys have ideas of what Christopher Nolan should do as his next move in his career after Man of Steel, comment, you know? I really want to see what you guys think as well, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thanks, and bye.